All right. Hello, everybody. Today, after I took a couple day break between streams here, just because I did not think that they were really worthwhile, I'm going to turn down my microphone volume just a smidgen. Okay, but today looks like a decent day for streaming. There might be a decent weather chance, and I'm going to I'm going to stream today's a little bit of today's weather events. So let's make sure that we actually get the latest radar. But let's explain what is on screen here. So today we are looking at a slight risk for thunderstorms in that area of southern Georgia and northern Florida, along the coast and a little bit more inland, and a little bit of a marginal risk around that. In that slight risk, we are looking for a 5% chance of tornadoes within 25 miles of a point. So we are going to be uh, watching that area on the radar for today. So let's get this off the screen here. So here's the radar, and we're going to be watching this specific area around Jacksonville, White Springs, pretty much everywhere between Tallahassee and Jacksonville, and everywhere from Savannah and south, probably towards this line here, Port Orange, maybe that'll be our sort of square of where we'll be watching for severe weather for today. Okay, so right now we just have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings. We have one up here over Waverly, Brunswick, Dock Junction, Sea Island, and this storm was exhibiting a bit of rotation. However, it does seem to have broadened out quite a bit, but there might be something here. The radar's seeing it, but I don't know if this is too reliable or not. It's not strong rotation, so I don't think it's anything to worry about, but we will watch it. Up here as well, though, this seems a little bit more tight. We are going to watch this cell right here. I'm going to make sure this cell earlier was a bit bigger and stronger and it had rotation, but we are talking about the coast here and Florida in general. And from my experience watching Florida weather, some of these smaller cells have a tendency to drop weak landspout tornadoes. So we will be watching for stuff like that, weak rotation in these smaller cells. And some of these might drop weak tornadoes, especially out in the ocean. We might see landspout tornadoes on the radar. And I have actually experienced some of these. I have been to Florida a couple times, and I've been to Tampa. And during the I can't remember what storm it was. There was a tropical storm off the coast, and a storm cell moved onto land that had a tornado on the ground, just a mile north of where I was. And it was a small cell, but it had some rotation, and that's what we're going to be watching for today specifically. Some of those smaller cells having the possibility to drop weak tornadoes or funnel clouds, even just to have rotation. But for right now, I think the threat is supposed to build up a little bit later, but it looks like it should progress into more of a straight line, uh, a line sort of like this of thunderstorms. We can sort of see those forming right now, although they've been like that for quite some time. It does seem like this storm previously might have had a tornado. Actually, can't. That's not amazing. Oh, that's not good. Okay, sorry about that. We're going to be watching here. There's only one severe thunderstorm warning now over Waverly. This storm cell does seem to be the strongest in the region at the moment. And it does seem to exhibit some sort of rotation. It is pretty broad and long, though, although it is definitely tightest around this point. But I don't think this is anything to worry about for a tornado, but we will watch it just to make sure. But the main threat for these severe thunderstorms are later in the day, just a little bit later, maybe an hour or so. But they are igniting right now along this line we can see here. We do want to watch the ones that ignite farther out in front, just because the farther out a storm is in front of its main line, I would the usually the stronger, the more potential the thunderstorm has to do something that could cause more damage. So definitely later in the day, we will have to be watching this a lot more closely than we are right now, because as of right now, there's just this one severe thunderstorm warning in southern Georgia, and currently that storm is passing over Waverly. It should be in in a few minutes or so. It should be passing over Sterling, Junction, and Brunswick, Georgia, and then lastly Sea Island. So we'll just need to be watching this, especially since it's exhibiting very weak and broad rotation. We just want to make sure that we keep an eye on it. I don't think it's too much of a threat. The main threat with this storm is just the 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, as shown here in the warning. We will check. It does say tornado is possible, so that rotation obviously is not just a issue with the radar or where the radar station is located. There obviously is some sort of rotation here. It's just not strong enough to really warrant any sort of tornado warning at the moment. However, earlier this storm seemed to have been much stronger, much more likely to drop a tornado. At one point, it might have actually even had a tornado on the ground. So we will want to keep an eye on it for the meantime. So we'll just some of these storms are gonna leave off over the ocean. And once they get into the ocean, their threat to people is pretty much over. I highly doubt anybody watching the stream is going to be on a boat in the ocean at this time. So once these storms pass out into the ocean, the threat will pretty much be over for whatever storm that was. Actually, I'm gonna go back as far as I can. All right, just to double check. A lot of these storms, I don't know if they will ignite into any thunderstorms, especially just since there's been so much rain here over this area, but it is the tropical area, so there's plenty of energy to go around, I would say. However, these storm cells do seem to actually just strengthened in the scan. Let's check the surface velocity here. It doesn't seem to have strengthened rotation-wise much, if at all. I think a lot of these storms will probably exhibit some level of rotation. It's just we'll be watching out for any places with strong rotation. And that'll be the most important part. And at the moment, this storm is by far the strongest of all these storms. And it has been, I think, it seems like it's been the one that's lasted the longest of all of these storms. So this one will be our focus for the moment. However, I will keep double checking, zooming out to make sure that there are no other threats. However, I won't be streaming. I might upload a video between, but it seems like for the next few days, there's not going to be much of a severe weather threat, let alone a thunderstorm threat for the entire United States. Unless that pops up, and I highly doubt that, then we should be good for the next couple of days at least. Okay, should be getting an update. We'll try to get that update here. Make sure that these storms don't strengthen in this current scan. Streaming and trying to get that data sometimes takes a minute or two to come through to the radar station just because it takes a lot of internet to download these scans. It does seem like some this storm that's moving off the coast is obtaining severe status. However, we can't see since it's struggling to download the data. Not good. Come on, download the data so we can see. Oh, this is not good. Maybe it's the station isn't getting the data through. Let's pull over to here. Maybe go to KVAX. We'll see if maybe that. Ah, this is too far. There we go. Okay, finally got the update here. Seems like the rotation, at least the radar is saying that the rotation strengthened. Let's see if that's true. Ah, it does seem actually to be true. That is hopefully I don't think that would be any sort of radar issue. This seems to be out of any areas that would have. Yeah, this seems legit. So I'm actually going to be. I want to watch this storm here. It's moving towards Brunswick, I would say. There is a area of, I would say, decently strong rotation right there that we want to keep watching for. Actually, I wouldn't be too surprised to see if the storm maybe would get a tornado warning from that. It is going to be moving off the coast soon, but there are a couple towns in its path still. So we will want to keep an eye on that spot right there. This does seem to look sort of supercellular. Oh, hang on, let me change this. That's not the right view. That is also not the right one. Which button did that? That I can't remember. Doop, 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 doop. Was it you? Wasn't you? Hmm. Can't seem to find the button. I'm gonna get rid of these lines since there's just so many storm cells. We know which way they're moving. We don't need the radar to tell me where these are moving. So yeah, we want to be watching the southern end of the storm that will be passing over Brunswick here in 5-10 minutes, I would say. We're gonna be watching this spot right here for a. I'll use relative velocity. As we can see in this region right here, we have this green, and then followed by this red. The red showing the outgoing wind, the green showing the incoming wind. See if we can get that update through. There we go, update through. Still rotation, moving into Brunswick. Here, let's see. Correlation coefficient seems fine, which is good. I don't think the storm would have a tornado, but it's always safe to check here. Just want to be watching this area of rotation here until it moves off the coast and is not a threat. Let's zoom out though. Make sure, just see if any of these other storms are igniting, which actually, this cell right here seems to be a new cell, or at least a new upcoming cell. So I feel like that'll be a good one to watch. Once these storms move off the coast, keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't strengthen. This storm is coalescing into a small. These storms are sort of merging here. But we will want to keep watching this area of rotation down here, um, just west of Brunswick. now just to make sure that that doesn't get any stronger. That's already a pretty tight area of rotation. The storm seems like much earlier, might have had some strong rotation, maybe even a weak tornado at some point. I was not here for that, but I was able to look back a little bit into the history of what the radar scans were and see that. So we will want to keep watching the storm since it has been a long track storm. We are now seeing a TVS show up, which is not good. TVS means that the radar is getting some sort of strength of rotation, and it's saying that hey, there might actually be a tornado there. It does have a strength of 5, so I'd say that's an average strength there. I'm pretty sure it goes up to 10. Might be wrong. It's been quite a while, and I haven't used this radar program, so I don't know if it does the same. But we'll call that level 5 average strength. Rotation does seem to be high off the ground, it is detecting for that. But that rotation did strengthen there, moving now just south of Brunswick, it seems. So we will want to keep an eye on that just to make sure that does not strengthen further. Um, I I actually wouldn't be surprised if we just see a brief tornado warning up until this thing moves off the coast at this point. But even if not, I would say just for safety, try to get to an interior room. You most likely do not have basements here on the coast. So just get to an interior safe room if you're in Brunswick, or along the coast here. St. Simons, maybe. We're gonna have to make sure the storm doesn't turn to the north. It does seem to be going relatively straight east, but just to be safe, St. Simons, Sea Island, Brunswick, any places between here on the coast. 'Cause I highly doubt there's just no houses on in this stretch of land right here. Make sure that you're watching the weather. Maybe get into an interior room of your house just for safety, even though there's no tornado warning at the moment. Since this rotation is decently strong at this point, I would say better to be safe than sorry, just in case. Let's make sure that none of these other storms are really igniting. Doesn't seem so. None of these storms are really hitting that potential severe status at the moment. So we will just continue to watch this cell until we get a update, which can be which will be another 30 or so seconds. See what that storm is doing. We'll see if the storm does get a tornado warning. I am actually not going to be surprised at this point. That is some pretty pretty strong rotation here. It's a little bit broad, but it's strong, and that is the main issue, I would say. I'm going to make sure that my microphone sounds strong. Yep, that seems good. Now you're going to hear my voice again. Repeat. And that seems to have gotten even stronger in this scan, however broader, but still not a good sign. This rotation would be passing just south of Brunswick here. So we will, if you're anywhere really in Brunswick, between Sea Island, and it seems like there's a small road that comes off here to the coast, then I would be on the lookout. This rotation is moving pretty much straight east, maybe even slightly at a south angle, but I'm going to say straight east. And just for safekeeping, if you're in that area, get somewhere safe to avoid the rotation. You could probably just drive north or south if you're in a vehicle in this area, and you'll get out of the path of this thing if you are happen to be right in front of it. I don't think it's a tornado on the ground. Uh, the good thing, there might be. I would say no to that part, but So there's no hook on the storm, or at least no really visible hook. There might be a little bit of like a something here, but I don't think so. I think that's probably just the thunderstorms merging together in that point. So I wouldn't say the storm really has a distinct, other than the wind directions on the radar, it does not have any distinct rotation, but that's not all we need. We really just need to see this here, and this is enough to tell me that there is some sort of rotation going on. I am actually sort of surprised that there is no tornado warning out here yet. Even though this rotation is broad, it is, I would say, pretty strong, unless it's just the radar station being a little odd. But I kind of doubt that, actually, just since it is in an area where it seems to be doing a generally good job at forecasting that rotation. It's not really too close to the to the storm, or to the, not the storm, to the radar station. So I'm gonna trust this as a reliable. But good news, it does seem to have weakened just a little bit, broadened quite a bit more now. So the tornado warning is probably a little less imminent, but I still wouldn't be too surprised if we saw one. There's an area of rotation right here that might be an artifact, though. Let's check it. Actually, it might not be. So now we want to watch a second area of potential rotation just down here, pretty far east of Woodbine. And then we want to keep watching this spot here, now southeast of Brunswick. Let's double check for any other cells here. Doesn't seem to be any cells. Uh, some of the radar scans, or radar forecasts here, the computer generated models, show a line of thunderstorms igniting in this region and then passing over Jacksonville. So that'll be something I will keep a watch for. It would probably be this line of weak precipitation would ignite into those thunderstorms, but it will be good to keep watch for those igniting. It might not happen. There is a lot of like cloud cover here, most likely with all this rain. Just being the tropics, it's probably humid. There's probably plenty of moisture and energy for a potential thunderstorm to ignite. It's just the atmosphere needs to allow for it. Should be getting an update here shortly to see what will come out of this potential rotation here and down here. This might just be an artifact, but I want to keep an eye on it since it is at the in a thunderstorm area. Storms are pretty weak, I would say, except this one, this rotation in it. But the other storms are all just small, mainly rainstorms with some thunder, I would say. Seems like the rotation has broadened even more as this thing's moving off the coast, but it has also just like strengthened off this through this entire line here. So the winds here, I'm gonna say it's probably just incredibly strong winds is getting picked up here, and is causing rotation just as this thing is moving over. So a big broad line of rotation here, just caused by how strong the winds are in this cell. But once again, since the severe thunderstorm warning does say tornado possible, I think that there could be a potential for some of this part of this rotation here along this line, uh, forming into maybe a brief, weak, short-lived tornado. There might actually even be a weak funnel cloud out there right now, and we'll just have to see. But these two storms have definitely congealed into a line at this point, and probably have some pretty strong winds. Actually, we can see, so the warning that stretches out into the ocean doesn't seem to be seeing that. The storm is now passing over Sea Island, and I think once that happens, the storm, once it passes over Sea Island, it'll go off into the ocean, and the threat to people will be over. Except we're just gonna watch the southern part, but even that should move off into the ocean in the next scan. Only part that won't is right here, which we might want to watch for one extra scan. As there's a little sort of town right there. But until then, I'm going to double check my radar, computer generated radar, just to make sure that that forecast of thunderstorms is still predicted, which it is. It is seeming that it's going to ignite 5:37 CST, so 6:37 Eastern time, sort of around that area. 5 to 6 is when that should ignite, and those will probably be the strongest storms of the day. And that will be that. Okay, so now we can see that line of the radar, seeing that rotation here that we have been watching. That is very this storm must just have incredible winds combined with it moving off the coast. It's just generating a lot of that wind shear, causing a lot of that rotation just to pop up along this whole line. This is where we watch for a water spout to pop up here, anywhere along this line, really. And I would say if you were going to try to watch any sort of storm and that has a tornado, a waterspout that's moving off the coast is probably the safest time to ever see a tornado because it's just moving off the coast. It's over open seas. The only people it would be incredibly dangerous for are any boats passing through here. But I feel like at this point, most people in boats that could be affected by the storm hopefully have gotten back onto land. But yeah, as this thing decreases in elevation, we're gonna have to watch the radar here for water spouts. I don't know if there's actually a specific report. I don't know if they tornado warn off the coast either. I don't usually. There's not usually that much threat during like severe thunderstorm threats that I've watched down in this area, unless I've been in this area of Florida, or in Florida during some sort of severe weather thing. So I don't have too much experience with what to look for down here other than what I've seen while I've been in Florida with severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings and stuff. And generally, this fits that average sort of thing I see. We'll keep an eye on this here. I do wonder. I'm actually going to look at the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center's m- uh, meso me- uh, mesoscale discussions just to check. Doesn't seem there's actually any occurring at the moment. So the threat to severe weather must not start until a little bit later. I might, in that case, end the stream and start it up again when that threat really materializes. I wanted to just check on this storm right here to make sure that it wasn't going to drop anything or any of these other cells, but they don't seem to really be igniting up at the moment. Or maybe what I'll do is just mute the audio and just keep this whole area up and just watch it for a little bit. I think that's what I'll do. So, guys, I will be back here in just a little bit whenever the threat pops up for severe weather. But until then, I'm just going to leave the stream running. I'm going to mute all the audio. Just, I'm going to throw some text up on the screen that says what's going on. So let's see here. What do we want to say? Um, so I'm just gonna put the waiting for the threat to begin here. It's right down at in the middle of the screen. This down quite a bit. And all right, guys. So I will see you guys here in a little bit when the threat materializes, if it materializes. But until then, have a good one. Hey guys, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on the whole situation here. It is beginning to look like the severe weather threat is not going to really materialize as we thought. So, what we were looking for, let's pause the radar scans. This line right here is what we're watching of thunderstorms. That's currently stretching from, oh man, you have to give me a hard name to read. Well, we'll just use the town south of it. Stretching from Jenna slash Steinhatchee, northeast all the way up to Brunswick, uh, Georgia. So that's the line of cells here. You can kind of see some of those weak like rainstorms at this point, and then as we get farther north, thunderstorms. Uh, sort of trying to form there. But it seems that there's just so much other stuff in front of this line of thunderstorms that it or line of trying to form thunderstorms that it really does not want to materialize. The scans or not the scans. Why do I say scans? The uh the computer models were showing the storms sort of igniting around 5 o'clock. It seemed, or at least being ignited by 5 o'clock. And then they were going to strengthen as they moved into, or it would be 6 o'clock for people on the eastern coast. So they were supposed to sort of ignite around 6 o'clock, especially these ones, and then move over Jacksonville um, around 7 o'clock, 6 to 7 o'clock in between there, and then by like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 at the latest, the most southern storms would roll off the coast. But it does seem like I'm giving it until about 5 or 6 o'clock for those of you on the eastern coast. So about 30 more minutes, and we'll see if these storms can really get a foothold. But it seems like, and this is what I was sort of expecting after I did a little bit more digging in on the Storm Prediction Center and weather.gov. It seems like the threat has really dissipated quite a bit. There's no mesoscale discussions, which are usually what the Storm Prediction Center puts out when they're talking about putting out some sort of watch. So in this case, we'd be looking for a severe thunderstorm watch or maybe even a tornado watch, but most likely just a severe thunderstorm watch. But they seem to have abandoned that. They were supposed to put it out around 3 o'clock at like the latest, and it is now 5 o'clock on the East Coast. So it's it's 5:30 on the East Coast. So it seems like the threat generally has disappeared, I would say, unless it's going to suddenly come back, which seems unlikely. I think that generally the overall threat, the only slightly strong thunderstorm at the moment is this one right here. We can at least do a little bit of a check on it, and you can see that there is no rotation in that. As like earlier, we were watching the storm that's now off the coast here had quite a bit of rotation. We're not seeing that here, so that storm is really not strong at all. So, and that's the strongest in the area. But once again, I'm gonna give this another 22 minutes here. This line of thunderstorms to see if it will form into a cohesive line, or at least have some stronger cells pop up than just this one. Because at the moment, besides that thunderstorm, this is the one, and I've been watching that cell for a little bit because I thought that might have the possibility to explode. Um, because it was just this little yellow ball here, and I was like, oh, maybe that one, because it started becoming a little bit bigger, a little bit more heavy precipitation. I think it seems like this spot right here has the most atmosphere for thunderstorms, because that's where both of these thunderstorms, this one that had a brief tornado threat, and this thunderstorm, which is now the strongest at the moment, both passed through that general area of right here and had had the strongest that they were, had been the strongest that they were. So that this area seems to generally be where the atmosphere is correct. Um, Anywhere down here, none of these storms have really materialized into any sort of threat. Like right now, if you were under this thunderstorm, the most you'd be getting right now is maybe a little bit of thunder and some rain. So at the moment, it seems like the threat of any severe thunderstorms is going to dissipate, which is good for those of you in Florida, in northern Florida and southern Georgia, since I know, especially in Georgia, we can see right here flood reports. Flooding has been a huge concern. Although not as much down here, it's still just to get all the rain out of the area, all the cloud cover to let the water evaporate would be a good thing. For those of us that like watching the weather, look for interesting events. I don't hope for severe weather to happen, but I do find it interesting to see, uh, and to help you guys out. It's gonna have to end the stream basically, if the threat does not materialize here in the next 20 or so minutes. Might give it a little bit extra time if it does decide to start looking like it might strengthen a little bit, but I've been watching these cells for quite a bit now. The stream has been going on for almost a hour and a half now, and these cells have yet to really show any signs of massively strengthening. Another thing that has me a little bit doubtful that the threat will materialize is just we can zoom out a little bit and we can just see how much precipitation is in front of where these storms are moving. And although this is weak, it's cloud cover, it's stuff that won't allow the ground to heat up, which is going to inhibit how much strength these storms can get from moving over this terrain. Because you might always hear uh, storm if you're watching the news. When there's a big severe weather threat, you will see the meteorologists talk about how there might be a line of storms and then a singular storm out in front of that line, and then they're watching that one, or maybe that storm is the strongest, might have the tornado warning. The reason why meteorologists and weather people like me want to watch those storms out in front of the line of the main thunderstorms, which might be a squall line, might just be the general area where all the cells are, is because that isolation, and especially if there's no cloud cover and no storms in front of that one, or hadn't been any storms in a little bit, the heat there and the atmosphere is pretty much just ripe for a thunderstorm. And having that isolation on its side, having no other storms in the area means that all that energy can get sucked up by that one storm, which makes it explode in strength. It keeps it out of any interference of other storms, so their outflow, their rain can't disturb the other storms in the area. So that is why we always look for a clear sky area out in front of a storm, especially in front of these lines of storms, in front of a single storm. It really can change how strong that storm will be. And when there's cloud cover in front of a storm system, doesn't always mean that it will be a weak storm system, but it does show that it won't have as much strength, especially if there had been thunderstorms maybe the night before that we weren't expecting. It really can inhibit the next day's storm's strength. So it looks like what's happening right now is there's just, and a lot of these storms are tracking over similar areas. They're moving uh generally northeast, it seems like, and they're tracking through areas where other thunderstorms have already been. And there was thunderstorms here yesterday, we can't forget. Rain and some weaker thunderstorms throughout the night passed through here that were from the severe threat in Louisiana the previous day. So that also would have sucked up more of the energy that was here. Even though the energy was still here this morning, just all these factors combined are ending up making for. I'm pretty sure what's going to end up happening is these storms are not going to ignite. They're just going to roll through as some weak thunderstorms, some rain showers, which in Florida you get these types of things pretty often. Just some thunderstorms that will come in in just a little bit. It'll be sunny again. It's just how Florida works, especially being by the ocean. So really, I don't think this is going to end up becoming anything out of the ordinary. Doesn't seem like much of a severe threat really materialized. I think earlier, in like central southern Georgia and the panhandle of Florida, there was a bit more severe weather, but I was busy, so I wasn't able to watch it. I think there might have been a few severe thunderstorm warnings. I checked in on direct weather stream once throughout the day, and I think he was watching a storm. But I think that really this threat just did not have the energy to materialize. Then again, we still have 15 minutes, but 15 minutes for that like deadline, I would say, to whether these storms can truly uh, form. I am going back and forth refreshing the Storm Prediction Center's page, seeing if they're updating what they're going to say about the storms, but they haven't really updated anything as of yet. But I think generally this threat is probably over at this point. It was on some most of the uh, computer models I looked at. It showed it was like pretty much Jacksonville, a little bit south of Jacksonville, and then Brunswick. So a area like this would get the heaviest rains and most likely the strongest thunderstorms. That's what I could see based on the simulated radar of the computer models, the NAM3K and the HRRR models. But these storms were already supposed to really be igniting by this point. However, just to kind of just show what's going on right now, it does seem that these storms are trying to ignite now. At least, for a while, it was just a you can if we go back a little bit, it was just a green line with some yellow in it. Now seems that they're sort of coagulating. There's a few more. They're a little bigger, a little deeper orange. It does seem like they're trying to form, which is why I want to give it just about 13 more minutes. I think I'm just gonna keep talking. There's not much of a point uh to like not talk when there's only 13 minutes left until that deadline occurs. But I think by now there would have been a severe thunderstorm watch. There would have been a bunch stronger thunderstorms in this area. I think the threat has dissipated. Once again, unless something crazy happens in the next 13 minutes and these storms explode in strength, which it's weather, crazy stuff can happen. The likelihood of it very small, but the chances are there. But while we're waiting for that to happen, I might as well just talk about what's gonna go on in the rest of the world for the coming few days while we just watch the radar here for the rest of the United States. So let me pull up the model I would like to look at just to make sure I don't say anything stupid. Uh wow. There is really nothing going on for at least the next 3, 4, 5 days. I think the thunderstorm threat for the United States is going to be pretty small, pretty much the entire just ugh, the entire United States is not going to have much of a chance for any thunderstorms. Check the see how far the NAM3K can see out, which is until Sunday. It looks like through from currently through Sunday, it seems like the thunderstorm threats for the entire United States is pretty small. Snow wise, you can go watch. I'm not much into snow weather, forecasting it. I'm getting into it a little bit, but I'm not super talented at it. I'm my specialty, at least where I've done the most learning about weather, is with severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, supercells, that sort of thing. Not the greatest at predicting and forecasting for snow. So you can watch direct weather's video on the nor'easter that's coming to the northeast United States. But that's like the biggest event going to happen throughout this weekend, Friday maybe. Uh, Generally through Sunday, we aren't seeing any sort of severe weather or thunderstorms even as of right now. I'll see if we can look a little bit further. It looks like a low pressure system on Monday is going to move through Kansas and Missouri and Iowa, but I don't know if that will bring any thunderstorms with it. Maybe in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma area, it looks like there might be a little something there. Maybe southern Iowa, but that we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see how that materializes. That low pressure system. I think that would be the biggest threat for anything. Looks like, and then now we're getting out really far into the future, but so this stuff will be more of just a sort of a shot in the dark if it will happen or not, because we're just so far away. It does look like Friday of next week, and there might be a little bit of a severe weather event if the low pressure system moves through, at least some thunderstorms for most of the central, southern, and even eastern United States. That'll actually progress into maybe even a snowstorm for the Northeast. But that's pretty far out. We will have to wait and see what happens with that, because trying to use these models to predict anything this far out in the future, it's it's not reliable. Like I can see all the way till March 18th, March 19th area, and using these models to just say, "Oh yeah, March 18th, March 19th, there will be a severe weather outbreak," is just not reliable. Stuff changes, weather changes so fast, and that's why everybody uh, who watches the news and then sees meteorologists say something and then that never happens. It's just like, oh yeah, meteorologists are never right. It's just because weather can change so fast, like with the severe weather threat, which these thunderstorms are igniting. I will give them that. They are starting to become strong, but I don't think they're gonna strengthen to severe status anytime soon. It's just this type of weather stuff relies on so many factors that can be hard to predict. Even with how good these computer models have gotten at predicting weather, stuff can change. Stuff just rapid things can change so fast, and it makes weather very hard to predict and watch and try to say what's going to happen next. Because really, you can't know. You can't know everything about weather. But if meteorologists or people try to predict stuff, I would say 4 days plus out in advance. Take it more as uh, we are predicting that we will predict this will happen, because it's like a double prediction. I would say it's that unreliable. It's very hard to predict anything out that far, really. Anything involving rain and storms, at least. Temperature, not as much. Pressure systems, not as much. But uh, trying to predict exactly where a severe weather threat will materialize 10 days in advance is incredibly difficult and pretty much impossible, I would say. You might be able to get a general area of where there might be a chance for severe weather. You might be able to do that type of stuff, but you will never be able to say exactly at 10 days in advance. Uh, the max that really functions that the SPC, Storm Prediction Center, can does is 8 days out in advance, but their 8 day outlooks are usually predictability too low from day 4 through 8. Every once in a while, when they're very strong on something is going to happen, you can see some stuff out that far, which is why they offer it. But generally, uh, trying to predict severe weather 4 plus days out is incredibly difficult, and any further than that is impossible. So give your meteorologist, your weathermen a little bit of slack when they're predicting stuff. Unless they're a little bit, uh, just a little bit too overconfident. Maybe they say next month we will have tons of thunderstorms and severe weather threat. Uh, that might be a little too far for them to predict. Especially one thing that I really dislike. While we're waiting for this, I might as well talk about it. Um, is when people in the winter try to predict what areas of the United States will have the most severe weather. It's it's pretty difficult to do that, and I would say generally impossible. You can't really say a specific area for an entire year will have the highest severe weather possibility. We can use analog years for predicting like what severe weather might be like, but we it's hard to predict exactly where even a broad area like the Midwest will get the focus of the severe weather this year. That type of stuff is pretty hard to do. It's it is possible, but I don't know if an entire year is able to be summarized like that. I think direct weather does it best with seasonal things, spring, summer, fall. I think that is probably the farthest you can look out and say that yeah, this area will be the hot spot for severe weather. But being in January and trying to say that well, I'm just going to use as an example, the Midwest in fall will have the most severe weather. You're making a bit of a stretch there. A little bit of a stretch. But there's about 6 minutes left on that deadline. Might give it like 10 more minutes after that because storms are starting to fire up a little bit. Let's go back a few scans just so we can see what it was like a couple minutes ago, like 7 minutes ago. It is starting to materialize into this storm right here, starting to explode a little bit. I wouldn't say explode. That is not the correct term for that at the moment, at least. But it is forming. We have this one down here. Honestly, I might actually say that this one has the highest potential just because not as many storms have moved through this area as up here already. So, but highest potential in this case right now means like there's a 10% chance that anything actually can come out of this system right here. And that's saying something when this is the highest chance. It's like it's pretty small anyways, but that's how confident I am in this whole thing right now. We can check just to make sure that nothing has changed, that the Storm Prediction Center is still on my side, which it appears so. Mesoscale discussions still 0. So it does seem like the threat probably is not going to materialize. I will say, still waiting, though. I'm still going to give it just a little bit longer. I but I think I'll give it. I want to see what this thunderstorm does over the next few minutes. Maybe this one too. I would like to see how those materialize. But I think the severe weather threat is so low at this point. Any single severe thunderstorms, I don't want to look out for unless something big happens. Of course, I might hop on stream randomly if for some reason some strong tornado forms. But other than that, just we're gonna give it a couple more scans, and then we will end the stream if nothing seems to come out of it. Hmm. See if we can actually get the scan to come in. and it looks like I think the most that's gonna happen at the moment, it looks like there might be just a line of weak thunderstorms that's gonna form. I don't think there's enough energy here for any severe. There wasn't really that much energy here in the first place for any massive severe weather outbreak. It was more of the case for isolated tornadoes, isolated severe weather. I don't think there was ever really a big chance for them. So at this point, 5 o'clock. I'm gonna give it. I'll say three more scans. We get the next one in a minute 30 seconds. We'll see what this line of thunderstorms want to do because it could this cell right here could strengthen a little bit. Maybe this one or maybe this one right here. Maybe one of these three cells is gonna strengthen, show some sort of potential, and in that case, doesn't have to get a severe thunderstorm warning. I just want to see some potential, and then I'll stay on the stream. But until then, I think that the severe weather threat is over. Anybody in northern Florida here generally should be in the clear for any severe weather, and the tornado threat should completely disappear at this point. None of these storms at this point look like they even have like they have like a 5% chance to turn into any sort of supercell with tornado potential. The last one of those that we saw was almost an hour ago at this point with I think it was this storm that has now moved off the coast. Let's see here. Let's see what's gonna happen though. Next update is in 10 seconds or so. If it actually gets to me right away, probably won't. So we'll see if it will. But oh, it did actually get to me immediately. So at least the radar is registering this as a cell now, an actual thunderstorm cell. So I think my hunch was correct. This storm cell does have the most potential out of any of them. Uh, and as we were talking about earlier, the reason why I think that is isolation. And the atmosphere down here has seen the least amount of thunderstorms. These these have tracked through, or thunderstorms have tracked through this general area for the last few hours, I would say, especially up here. Uh, these storms are still generally, I would say, severe status. If these were on land, I think they would be severe status. They do have these here, right here. They are actually predicting water spouts on these storms. So, yeah, these storms were the two potential storms, potential severe thunderstorms here. I think the threat is over. There's only a couple storm cells that might gain some potential for something. Uh, the one I'm really watching at the moment is this one, not because it's strong at the moment, just because it has the biggest chance, which is still small, to become a strong thunderstorm, just because of its general proximity to other storms is a lot smaller. The atmosphere are a lot larger than up here, I would say. The atmosphere down here has seen the least amount of rain, even though it still has seen some. It just has that slight isolation factor, even though there's this cell right here. Uh, and the other thunderstorms haven't really passed through this area. It's been more just rain showers. It means that this storm right here has the highest chance. But I think I want to give it a couple more scans just since it did show a little bit of strengthening here. We do want to double check it. Actually, a couple things I can do. Which one is it? It should be Echo Top, so we can actually do that. This is a good way to see what cells might actually have potential. And it looks like this one up here has echo tops actually up pretty high. So does this one. So if I'm actually going to be watching a storm, I'm going to say this one and this one. Let's actually move it over to base reflectivity. What are echo tops? Echo tops are how tall the storms are, basically. So if I go back to echo tops here, uh, you can see right here there's some orange. We go over to the left side of the screen to see our chart for what the colors mean. This is measured in kilo feet, 1,000 feet. So the orange is between 40 and 50,000 feet. It is not the super dark orange, so it's probably within that 40,000 feet, lower 40,000 feet range, which is pretty tall. You can see up here, these ones are at the maybe the 50,000 feet, upper 40,000 feet. So this storm right here might, let's actually go back a few scans. We can see, oh, never mind. I guess we can't go back a scan to see how tall these were a minute ago. It must not save that data. So at the moment, this storm cell right here is the tallest, which usually is a good indicator for what is potentially going to be the strongest storm cell at the moment. I, what was I looking? But I mean, like if we look at the actual precipitation here, not very much, not very heavy at all, really. I mean, there might be a bit of heavy rain up here, a little spot right there, and a little spot down here. Generally, though, I'm I'm really giving these storms the benefit of the doubt here. I'm even looking at other radar stations at this point. Anything to just show some sort of strengthening here, because I really don't know what's going to happen. It just is so this system right here is very low confidence for me here. I don't want to end the stream just in case one of these does show strength. That down there, that's actually a good sign that this storm might actually do something. If you remember when we just last looked at the echo tops, this cell was not as tall as it is now. So that shows some evaporation. The storm cloud is getting larger. It's getting taller. It's a pretty tall storm at this point. So I think I might keep going for a little bit longer and watch this storm and see what happens with it. Because it has the highest potential, as I said earlier, with that echo top explosion right there. I wouldn't call it an explosion. It didn't go from like 20,000 feet to 40,000 feet, but it did go from 30,000 to 40,000. That is a 10,000 feet increase. Probably more like 35,000 to 40,000, but that's still 5,000 feet increase in height on that storm, which is which is a lot in like a few minutes. Is the most that I've seen in any of these cells so far. Because this cell has sort of plateaued here at the 40,000, mid 40,000 range, it seems. But that is all it takes, really, for one of these storms to be strong. Uh, as we can see, these ones moving off the coast are only in that upper 40,000 range, so these have the potential. I would say these two right here, especially this one down here, they do have the potential to maybe start putting down some rain, maybe even become a supercell, which is why I want to keep watching them, just because these are at their new beginnings. They do seem to finally be hitting that atmosphere that we were looking for earlier. Let's actually check for some mesoscale discussions, which there are none of. I want to watch. I want to get the next update in here sooner rather than later. So, just so we can see what these storms are going to do. I think I'll give these storm cells a few more scans. I'd say 3 or 4 more scans though, because I don't want to stream forever. I don't want to keep going like, oh well, maybe one of these storms will explode in strength. Even though they do seem to be strengthening based on cloud height. We can see what the rainfall has been like, just for fun. Seems like that storm cell that moved through here dropped like quite a bit of rain. These storms aren't really dropping that much rain though, which is also a good sign that there's some rapid growth going on with all the air moving up into the clouds, all that evaporation. Now I'm just looking at some of these random things I don't ever really use. Storm total rainfall. So yeah, some of these storms dropped quite a bit of rain. Other ones not too much. We are slowly running out of things to do here, though. That is unfortunate. Well, I'm just waiting for these storms to do something. Doop 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 doop. Don't know what to do or say because there's nothing going on. I think. I've been saying this for the past like 20 minutes, 30 minutes even, that this threat is not going to materialize, which is sad. Well, it's good and bad. Good for everybody here. Sad for me who wanted to watch it 1,000 miles away in the comfort of my room, my own home. Generally, it's a good thing that the severe weather threat did not materialize. We do not want tornadoes to happen. That is something that I have seen grow inside of the amateur weather watching community. We want those big tornadoes to see on the radars, that type of thing. Uh, the amateur storm chasers, which is a very dangerous profession to take up unless you really know what you're doing. Really want those big outbreak days, and I think all storm chasers want those outbreak days. There's always that side that like you don't want to have a severe weather outbreak because in those big tornadoes, people get hurt. That's something that is hard to realize if you don't know anybody in these towns that are 1,000 miles away or anything. It's hard to comprehend that tornadoes hurt people. That is a fact, especially the strong ones that people like to see. Or it's the most fun to watch. You can't. I'm not going to sit here and say that it is not interesting and entertaining to watch these strong thunderstorms roll through an area and try to warn people about the storm. It is fun. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it right now. But that doesn't mean that we want them to happen. So I think it was just good to be able to say that because I think everybody's dreams, especially like us weather people, it's to see a tornado over a farm field that's not going to hurt anybody and just watch it from a safe distance, get a clear view, all that type of stuff. But chances of that happening are always small because in a strong tornado, they can go on for miles, they can last just minutes. There's so many different factors, and every tornado is different. But that's big off topic. I'm gonna give it this scan. This is the final scan of the stream, unless these storms show promise, which I have all but given up on them. And it now seems that the promise of these storms has ended in my mind, especially with the weakening echo tops. The echo tops have managed to shrink on this storm. and the secondary one that this one had has also shrunk. And therefore, if we look at the precipitation, nothing has changed. Let's look at the storm relative velocity. Nothing has changed. The I'm looking at random things now. The correlation coefficient. Obviously, there's no tornadoes on the ground, so nothing has changed here. The rainfall. Nothing has really changed. Maybe a little bit of. Ooh, there was some heavy rain in that storm. I honestly, sometimes there are these things here on these radar programs, and you have no idea what they do. This is one of those charts right here. What does this even do? I do not know. Nor do I really care. It just looks cool. Like, look, what? Obviously, it has something to do with some clouds or something. Like, I mean, it's right along the storm. But what is it? It's the real question. Other thing is, I think this one's important. I see people use it. Do I know what it does, though? The answer is no. I think I used to, but I took that little break you can see in my channel, and I have forgotten what this means. And now with me talking all this time, oh, it looks like I was able to stall until the next scan. So we'll look at that one, and then we'll end the stream. But they have pretty much crossed that point that I was looking for. I was going to originally wait until the line of storms passed. McClenny. I like that name. McClenny, but uh, I think that this is already pretty apparent that these storms are not going to produce anything but rain and lightning. Unless in 14 or so seconds, when it retries to get the radar data once more. Ooh, what happened there? Oh, wow, would you look at that? A slight increase on the height of that one there, and that one, what you do? Ooh, that one actually. That is a little bit impressive of you right there. South of Taylor, you just gained quite a bit of height. I will, I will wait another 2 minutes for that. Or will I? Yeah, I don't have anything else to do. Might as well. Might as well just continue to watch these weak rainstorms. Just to make sure. Because this isn't a severe weather area. What are you? A thing has formed right there. It seems like there is some sort of storm cell. Oh, oh, now we're talking. A storm cell. Something that I have obviously been deprived of for some amount of time. I think we're a little too close to the radar station here to really see how tall these are. That's why it looks kind of like there's a round circle and there's like nothing here. It's just because closer you get to the radar station, it does like a little step thing as you get farther away until you get far enough away that it can actually see the tops of the clouds. So now we're getting a little too close for it to be able to tell how tall like this cell or this that storm there is. We're gonna have to go off our other things such as precipitation, which honestly, I mean, I don't see anything here to really look at. So yeah, there's like, I mean, there's some rain. You like rain? Well, good for you guys there in Florida. You like thunder, I guess. Well, there you go. Uh, it's like nothing. I mean, I'm still watching though. I'm still watching. I'm really just looking at these like couple storms here just to see if they want to do something wacky in like I mean these are gonna move off the coast here in like 20 minutes. This one like maybe 30 or 40. Oh boy, what's gonna happen in the next update? I can't wait to see a slight increase in rain. Oh boy. Oh, would you look at that? a slight increase in rain just south of Taylor. This is unprecedented. See what the echo tops are. Oh, they didn't change either. No wonder. What did they even? I don't even think they updated. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Yeah, there's like there. I think I've had enough. I think I've had enough of watching menial rain increases. Uh, I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. This was such a boring stream. Such a pointless one. Not like there was even a severe weather threat. I clickbaited people. Oh no. Oh, this is terrible. I better end the stream before I clickbait another person into watching this. Uh, well, anyways, thank you for watching this totally entertaining, unprecedented severe weather stream here that occurred. This incredible outbreak that occurred across Florida and Georgia here. Um, if you want to see more incredible outbreaks like this, make sure you subscribe and like this video to make sure that the warnings get out there to people. The warnings, the so many warnings that will be useful after the stream is ended and is just uploaded as an archive on my channel. Yes. I hope that you were able to get some sort of enjoyment out of the stream if you aren't in this area and were just watching to see if something happened. I hope that you got some menial enjoyment out of watching this for some reason you decided that you wanted to watch some rainstorms move through Florida along with me. Uh but yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for this next update to come through cuz why not? It's 1 second. How long is 1 second? I mean, that was a good question, wasn't that? 1 second. If anybody heard me talking right now, they would think I am absolutely insane. Honestly, that is fair to think at this point. I may very well be insane by watching these storms here, trying trying desperately to see if these will form into something, and waiting for tens of seconds to see if my computer and the radar station will be able to send the data to one another. Retrieve the data from the. Okay, there we go. Well, nothing changed, of course. What was I expecting? Oh, wait. No, we were just looking back a little bit. Oh my gosh. A line of thunderstorms. Will we see a severe thunderstorm? You know, I don't know if I want. I don't know if I want to. I do not know if it is worthwhile. I don't think it's worthwhile. Well, guys, thank you for watching. So on a serious note, subscribe to the channel. I plan to cover actual outbreaks and severe weather events on live streams, like I did a couple days ago, and was going to do here if something actually happened. Uh, I like to cover those on my channel. Like to get out warnings just in case. Maybe some people don't have access to television, but they do have access to YouTube. Maybe they don't have. Maybe they can't get through to their television station for some reason, or maybe their people are just around the world want to see what's going on in an area without trying to find a news station there. I know I've wanted to do that sometimes during a severe weather outbreak when people didn't live stream these things. I'd be like, "What's going on down there?" I want to try to find a news station, but it's hard to find news stations that live stream to their websites. So I like to provide that for people. Nowadays, there's plenty of other YouTube channels that do it. So I hope to just bring something unique to the table. Do it for my own enjoyment here. Now that I have the ability to actually do this myself. Use these radar programs, stuff, use weather stuff with my mind. But yeah, if you're in this area, if you're actually concerned about this weather, look at your local news station. they probably will update it if something big happens. Look at your phone, check your phone. Check weather.gov, the Storm Prediction Center. They will put out stuff if there's actually anything going on. Of course, Twitter. If something big happens, Twitter will post about it. I don't personally use Twitter, especially for severe weather stuff. Last time I used Twitter for severe weather things was during the large outbreak. Was it last year or the year before that? I don't know. Uh, there was some 300 tornadoes in like the span of a week. I think that was last year. And I used Twitter to keep up to tabs on the tornadoes that rolled through areas because people were posting pictures, posting updates. Other meteorologists were posting what they were thinking was happening. It was good to read up on. I have some videos of when that happened, actually. You can go check those out. One of them was pretty interesting. One of my most interesting things I saw that I don't think anybody else really talked about, wasn't able to find anybody talking about it, was a anticyclonic supercell. If you're into weather, you know what that type of thing is. You know how rare they are here in the United States. If you're interested in that at all, if you want to just learn a little bit about supercells, I think I talk about supercells there. Uh, you can go check that out if you'd like to. That actually just made me think of an idea now. I might create some videos talking about some of these basic things that people that don't know about weather don't really know about. Talk about supercells, talk about squall lines, the weather types, that type of thing, what we look for when we're looking for tornadoes and storms. I got to build up a little bit of a collection of stuff, of pictures to look at, to use as examples, but at some point, I expect to make one of those videos. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell if you're really interested in getting these weather updates, weather things. I'll, at some point, especially when the severe weather season ramps up, I'll upload daily or so videos talking about the weather threat for that week or so. Something like that. We'll see what we do when the time comes. But other than that, yeah, I have nothing else to say. I finally exhausted my supply of things that I wanted to talk about. I use this more as an update, I guess, at the end. But yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next live stream, which will probably be a little while. I will upload some videos in between here and then, though, maybe on some other things. Who knows? Thank you for watching. Goodbye.